So with talk of impeachment gaining steam and the media elites becoming more emboldened to speak out, for example, as Jonathan was talking about on MSNBC, filmmaker Michael Moore talking about white Trump voters in the context of pro-apartheid South Africans. Let's dig into the topic with Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and RNC committeewoman for California, Harmeet Dhillon. Welcome to you both.
Hi, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, so also in the piece was Joel Stein, who has a new book out called In Defense of Elitism, I think it is, or In Defense of Elites. I think a lot of it is tongue-in-cheek, but he says that this is not something the Democrats should do right now. He says impeaching Trump without a chance of convicting him in the Senate is even more likely to damage us elites. It allows him to claim exoneration, sending a message that this was all elitist theater. Elite maneuvering over impeachment will send the voters running into Trump's flailing, tweeting, flag-hunting populist arms. Leslie.
Well, Joel tweeted me before this and said he was going to be watching. He didn't know what I was going to say, but he asked me to say, or asked you, Shannon, to say the name of his book very slowly and often. But I don't agree with Joel on this. I don't agree with Joel on this at all, because there are elites in both parties, and there are elites that don't like to ascribe to a party. I think the danger for Democrats, and I've said all along, and which is why Speaker Pelosi has put the brakes on, is just looking at history. What happened with Bill Clinton when his approval rating shot through the roof over 70%. Newt Gingrich, the House Speaker, stepped down. He had to step down, not Bill Clinton. And he was not removed from office. Democrats want Donald Trump removed from office, and most people know the way to do that is by voting him out of office and making him one term. However, you don't just see elites in those polls that daily keep coming out with more support for both impeachment and removing the president from office, and not just among Democrats, certainly not just among elites.
Well, and Harmeet, I mean, if you look at those polls, if anything, the movement on Republicans has been a tinier number says, okay, let's have this impeachment inquiry. That number is shrinking as this goes on, seeming that the president is firming up his base, at least on that particular issue. So what do you make, though, of what Leslie had to say? Like, it's not just Democrats, because, I mean, the president is lashing out at never-Trumpers who happen to be Republicans as well.
Well, the lashing out at never-Trumpers and, by the way, disguised never-Trumpers in his administration is long overdue. I've seen a lot of nodding amongst the Republican intelligentsia today on Twitter about this. Everybody knows that the administration has unfortunately been stacked with a bunch of never-Trumpers since day one. But back to the question of this elitism framing, I think it's kind of cute and interesting. It may help Mr. Stein sell his book, but it's, as I agree with Leslie, it's unnecessary to come to the obvious political conclusion that this is a loser for Democrats. It's a loser politically. It's why Nancy Pelosi is not holding a vote, but just having this sham proceeding in the basement, which is stacked against due process. But at the end of the day, you know, these polls that you're talking about, polls are very much based on what the questions are and all the crosstabs and all of that. I will tell you that at the RNC, our internal polling is showing a decreasing amount of support by 10 points amongst Democrats for this impeachment effort, and a 5% decrease amongst all voters with respect to the impeachment inquiry. And I think Republicans and even declined to state voters and some Democrats I've spoken to think that this inquiry and this effort is so biased and so lacking in due process and unfair, particularly coming on the heels with the Russia, now Ukraine, and now this due process, that this is a loser politically. It's a non-starter. And so Democrats would be wise to have their fun with it and then, you know, move away from it like a dead skunk in the middle of the road.
I'd like you both super quickly to weigh in on this issue about what Michael Moore was saying. It's being described as this. That he was on with Chris Matthews, offering the, quote, hideous claim that white Trump voters of all economic stripes are racist on the level of pro-apartheid South Africans. Leslie, quickly from you, and then Harmeet, finish this out.
Not all Trump supporters are racist. However, when you see people standing and chanting, send her back, and she is African American and she is Muslim, it does make one pause. To Michael Moore's point, I do think both sides of the aisle, that white men are fearful of that day in 2054 when they're no longer the majority. I think that's a reality.
Harmeet?
Yeah, I'm not white. I'm a longtime Trump supporter, and there are a lot of people who are not white who are Trump supporters. So this type of racist, divisive demagoguery is really old hat and silly. And by the way, send her back is not racist. It is talking about a person who hates America and who does not seem to embrace American norms. I think it's a fair comment, and I say that as an immigrant.
Okay, gotta leave it there. Leslie, Harmeet, thank you both very much. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.